It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you because you promised yourself you wouldn't check it. Your brain is doing that thing again, replaying a conversation from 9 years ago that nobody else remembers. You feel broken. But the real answer is far stranger than broken. You are not malfunctioning. You are running an operating system that is at least 40,000 years old. And that system was never designed for a single unbroken block of 8 hours in the dark. Here's what nobody tells you about sleep. The one long, uninterrupted night you've been chasing your whole life might not be natural at all. Historian Roger Ekirk spent years digging through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. He found something odd. Again and again, people wrote about a first sleep and a second sleep. They would go to bed at dusk, sleep for a few hours, then wake up in the middle of the night. Not in a panic. Not checking a phone. They would pray, talk quietly with a partner, tend a fire, or just lie there thinking. Then, an hour or two later, they would drift back into a second sleep until morning. This wasn't insomnia. This was Tuesday. Now here's the twist. If waking at 3 a.m. used to be normal, why does it feel like a crisis today? Because the context around it changed completely. Your ancestors woke up in the dark, in silence, with nothing demanding their attention. You wake up in the dark next to a device that can show you a stranger's vacation photos, a co-worker's typo, and a global disaster within 4 seconds. The waking itself is old. The dread is new. So what did ancient humans actually do when sleep broke apart in the middle of the night? To answer that, scientists didn't just read old diaries. They went looking for people alive today who still sleep the way humans did before electricity existed. In 2015, sleep researcher Jerome Siegel and his team studied 3 hunter-gatherer and pre-industrial societies: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia. None of these groups have electric light. None of them have caffeine in the way you do. If ancient sleep patterns survive anywhere, it would be here. What Siegel found broke a lot of assumptions. These groups didn't sleep in one continuous block either. They also woke during the night. But they didn't experience it as a problem. Nobody was lying there anxious about being tired for work in 5 hours. There was no clock demanding a number. Sleep, for them, was elastic. It bent around the needs of the body and the rhythms of the night sky, not around a job that starts at 9. Here's the part that should really sit with you. Despite generally sleeping less than the recommended 8 hours by modern standards, these groups showed almost no reported insomnia. Think about that. Fewer hours, fragmented nights, almost no complaints of sleeplessness. Meanwhile, back in the fully electrified world, insomnia affects a huge portion of adults every single year. What does that tell you? It's not the broken night that's the problem. It's what you've been taught the night is supposed to look like. So let's go back further. Before diaries, before villages, before fire was tamed for the night. What was sleep actually for, biologically? And why would a system that shouldn't break in the middle of the night have evolved to break in the middle of the night anyway? Anthropologist Carol Worthman has spent decades studying sleep across cultures, and one of her core arguments is blunt. Sleep is not just a biological need. It is a social behavior shaped by safety. In small groups, sleeping in the open, near predators, near rival tribes, near fire that needed tending, staying in one unbroken sleep cycle all night would have been dangerous. A brain that occasionally surfaces to near wakefulness, checks the environment, and then slides back down is a brain built for survival, not a brain built for a mattress commercial. That waking moment at 3 a.m.? It might be an ancient security check. Your ancestors' brains used it to listen for movement outside the shelter. Your brain still runs the same subroutine. It just has nothing to check for anymore. So instead, it checks your inbox. Now, here's where it gets stranger. This isn't only about danger. Fire changed everything, and not in the way you'd expect. Once early humans controlled fire, nights extended. You could stay up later around a flame. And here's the twist historians and anthropologists both point to. Those firelit hours weren't wasted time. They were prime time for something modern humans have almost entirely lost: storytelling. Researchers studying the Ju Hoansi San found that daytime conversation was overwhelmingly practical. Complaints, logistics, minor conflict, who did what? But nighttime conversation around the fire shifted dramatically towards stories, myths, and social bonding. The dark hours weren't dead time waiting for sleep. They were the community's original content platform. Long before Netflix, before radio, before the written word, humans used the low-light hours between waking and sleeping to pass down history, teach children danger, and knit the group together emotionally. So when you wake at 3 a.m. and your mind starts wandering into memory, into imagination, into half-formed stories about your own life, you're not glitching. You're doing something your species has done in the dark for longer than agriculture has existed. But there's a catch, and it's the twist that makes this whole thing click into place. Ancient humans waking in the night had darkness working in their favor. Real darkness suppresses a hormone called melatonin's opposite pressure, letting the body know it's still nighttime and sleep is still nearby. Their eyes weren't being hit with blue heavy light. Their brains weren't being told, at 3 a.m., actually, wake up, here's a screen as bright as midday sun. Sleep scientist Charles Chasler at Harvard has shown for years that even brief exposure to bright artificial light at night can suppress melatonin production and shift your body's internal clock. So the ancient 3 a.m. waking and your 3 a.m. waking might start the same way. Same evolutionary alarm, same ancient subroutine. But one of you reaches for a burning ember to check on the fire, and the other reaches for a rectangle that floods the retina with daylight-strength light. One drifts back to sleep within the hour. The other lies there for 3. It's not that your body broke. It's that you're running an ancient program in an environment engineered to interrupt it at exactly the moment it's most vulnerable. So what would ancient humans actually do? Condensed into one honest answer. They woke up. They didn't panic. They tended the fire, listened to the dark, spoke quietly if someone else was awake, told a fragment of a story, or simply lay there, letting their mind wander through memory the way yours does now. Then, without a phone, without a clock demanding a number, without guilt about tomorrow's alarm, they let their body find its way back down into sleep on its own schedule. Here's the modern mirror, and it's the part that actually matters for you. The waking itself was never the enemy. It's ancient, it's normal, and multiple hunter-gatherer societies alive right now experience it without anxiety. What changed is everything surrounding it. The light, the clock watching, the catastrophic thoughts about tomorrow's meeting, the scrolling. Those aren't ancient. Those are recent additions layered on top of a 40,000-year-old wake cycle that was never broken in the first place. Which means the fix isn't forcing your brain to stop waking up. That fight is unwinnable because it's not a malfunction to begin with. The fix is closer to what your ancestors already had. Darkness instead of light, quiet instead of scrolling, a wandering mind instead of a panicked one. Something to gently occupy the space between sleeps instead of something to dread. So tonight, when you wake up in the dark for no obvious reason, try remembering this. You're not failing at rest. You're not broken, weak, or uniquely cursed with a bad brain. You are, for a few strange minutes, doing something almost every human who ever lived before electricity also did in the dark. Listening, thinking, waiting for sleep to come back around. It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. But this time, maybe, you know exactly what your brain is doing, and why it's been doing it since long before there was ever a ceiling to stare at.